So what we were discussing, beta, I was talking about bursae, isn't it? So how many bursae do we have? Radial bursa, ulnar bursa, isn't it? So radial bursa is nothing but the synovial sheath which is enclosing the tendon of flexor pollicis longus, isn't it? So we have seen its proximal and distal extension. Like superiorly, if you see, like it is extending about 2.5 centimeters proximal to flexor retinaculum. So inferiorly or distally, it is extending up to the distal phalanx. Okay. So radial bursa and ulnar bursa, usually they communicate. There is a passage between two in about 50% of cases at the level of wrist. So here in the radial bursa also there can be infection. Okay. Same like what we have studied in case of thenar space almost. Okay. So the distal phalanx of the thumb is flexed and it becomes rigid. Patient cannot extend it. Okay. But other fingers are not affected. No, only the flexor pollicis longest tendon is affected. That's the reason the distal phalanx of the thumb is flexed and it becomes rigid. Hand is also tender because of infection. Okay. And suppose we know like in 50% of the cases, ulnar and radial bursae are in continuation. And if we are not treating this, infection from radial bursa can go to ulnar bursa. Okay. Then. So this is ulnar bursa. So what are the tendons it is enclosing, beta, from the picture? Flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus. Both are enclosed by this synovial sheath, okay, which forms the ulnar bursa. Okay, so it is common flexor synovial sheath, ulnar bursa, okay, long flexor tendons of the fingers. What are those? Flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus. They are all enclosed in a common synovial sheath which is passing deep to flexor retinaculum. Okay, then. So this sheath is something like peritoneum, beta. That's why it has parietal layer lining the walls of carpal tunnel. Okay, then. So this you can see very nicely. Okay, these are the upper two are flexor digitorum superficialis. All four in a line are flexor digitorum profundus. Okay, they are as though they are enclosed like this. Okay. So this is medial part, common sheath extends distally. See here, medially where is it extending? It is distally extending to the tendons of little finger. Laterally it is stopping, it is not entering into the palm. Okay. So then distal ends of the index, middle and ring finger, they have their own digital synovial sheaths. That means around the tendons of flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus, they have their own fibrous flexor sheaths which is not in continuation with ulnar bursa. Only the little finger tendon is in continuation with ulnar bursa. What is the difficulty if it is in continuation? If there is any infection in ulnar bursa, infection can also spread to little finger. Isn't it? Whereas these three are spared, they are well protected. So this is infection of ulnar bursa is most serious hand infection because it has all flexor tendons. Okay, then flexion becomes very painful. The whole palm becomes swollen, edematous. Okay. So flexed fingers, already if they are flexed, they cannot extend because of pain, okay, and infection. So this is ulnar bursa in continuation with little finger. Okay. So these are the separate synovial sheaths. Synovial sheaths of each finger. Okay. Now can you see it is something like a peritoneal covering, beta? Inside you have visceral layer, outside you have parietal layer, something like that you are finding. The tendons are enclosed by these synovial sheaths, isn't it? So the above one is the superficialis tendon, flexor digitorum superficialis. Below one is flexor digitorum profundus tendon. Okay, they are their own sheaths which are found in which fingers? These three. This is index, this is middle, and this is ring finger. Okay. So they are enclosing these two tendons. Already I told you this. Okay. So the sheaths are surrounding these muscles. Okay. And they form the blind diverticula. So basically they are not in communication with bursae, but sometimes they may also communicate. Okay. So this is the tendon, and you can see as though peritoneum is covering the visceral organs like mesentery, we have seen, greater omentum, we have seen, it was covering the visceral organs. Similarly, these tendons are enclosed by this synovial sheath. Okay, like you are finding a cavity also in between. Okay, so this suspension is mesotendon. So now see here, what is this tendon which is splitting into two before its insertion?
Superficialis.
Flexor digitorum superficialis. And which tendon is passing between these two slips to get inserted into the base of distal phalanx?
Flexor digitorum profundus.
Flexor digitorum profundus. So these synovial sheaths, now these are the synovial sheaths which are extending from these long tendons to the periosteum of the bone. Okay, these are actually called as vincula. Vincula. Okay, and if they are small in size, you call it as vincula brevis, which you are finding with profundus. If they are long in size, you call it as vincula longa and vincula brevia. Okay. Okay, beta. So that is, you are finding this is bone. Okay, and this is the tendon. Then you are finding the synovial sheath. Surrounding the synovial sheath, you have thickening of the fascia, which is actually called as fibrous flexor, like a digital sheath. Okay, so they are arranged like XXX, or they are arranged like ring. Okay, so this alternately blue and green are shown. So these are actually fibrous digital sheaths. Their arrangement may be like ring, which is called as cruciate part. Their arrangement may be crisscross. Crisscross is X, which is like cruciate, and annular is ring. Okay, ring is annular. So what is infection itis always? Tenosynovitis, inflammation of the this fibrous flexor sheaths. If they are getting infected, then you call this condition as tenosynovitis. So obviously there will be pain, swelling, and difficult to move a particular joint where inflammation has occurred. Okay, so like this it is. Flexor tenosynovitis you are finding with index finger, which is nothing but infection of the fibrous flexor sheaths. Okay, so suppose if there is any infection here, we need to give incision like this to drain. Okay, at the base of the distal phalanx. Okay, transverse incision. Okay, now see, radial bursa is there, ulnar bursa is there, radial bursa is there. In order to drain them, we can give a transverse incision like this also at the level of flexor retinaculum. Okay, that is. You call this area as distal palmar crease to drain the pus. Okay, so all these are not required. So should we continue? Like this is also very lengthy topic. If you have patience, I will continue.